frauds, charlatans, imposters. Seems like no matter where you turn these days, someone is always trying to pull a fast one on you. Somebody is always trying to take what rightfully belongs to you. And I've had enough. Now it's hard to see it coming sometimes because these frauds come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, and every industry has their fair share of them. Now there's different types of frauds. You got the kind that aren't even subtle about it. They're like savages. They just come right at you viciously, they rip you from end to end, and they don't even lose any sleep over it. Then you have the type of frauds that are like wolves in sheep's clothing. They don't quote unquote lie to you, but they just kind of hide the truth or don't disclose the truth. They put it down there somewhere in the fine print or create these mirages that their product or their life is far better than what it really is. You got to be looking out for yourself on every corner these days. So I'm going to do my duty to the public, and I'm going to expose a fraud in this week's happy hour. And that fraud is Finlaggan Scotch. Now you're probably saying, hey, it's just Scotch. How much of a fraud could it be? Well, you're about to find out. The other day I happened to be walking through the liquor aisle of my local grocery store when there in the display was Finlaggan. The first thing that caught my eye was it says distilled in the Finlaggan Castle on the Isle of Islay. Now to the layman that might not mean much, but if you've seen some of my past happy hours, you know I've often spoke of my trips to Scotland and the Isle of Islay. In fact, I've been a bit braggadocious about it. I was just there, and I visited all 8 distilleries that are on that island. Somehow, I don't remember anything called the Finlaggan Castle Distillery. Curious, and in a hurry, I had to just pick this up. And it was for the bargain basement price of $18. If that shouldn't tell you anything, right? As soon as I get home, I start to read just a little bit further, because at the beginning it says, this Finlaggan Distillery from the Old Reserve, like it's some special blend. And excuse me, I have to use a magnifying glass because I don't have my glasses on. But down here in the fine print, it says, although there is no actual distillery called Finlaggan Castle, this whiskey is the Lord of the Isles and is the finest blended Scotch on the island. Child, please, the best Scotch on the island? You're telling me this is better than Brewed Lottich, Lagavulin, Lafroig? What? Now, I don't know exactly what this was, but it claims to come from the Isle of Islay. So I had to do a little bit more research. It took me a few hours, a couple of forums, and apparently the story with this is it was a company that was started in 1992 by a man named David Crook. I'm not making that up. David Crook. And the recipe on the website says that it's a secret, like it's a secret recipe. Now, if you have any familiarity with whiskeys or you drink them, you're going to notice something else. That there is not a year that is posted anywhere on this bottle or a cask strength or anything else like that. So according to the internet, which has to be a solid resource of information, it says that this is most likely either a Lafroig or a Lagavulin 3 to 5 year. Now, for those who don't know much about whiskey, and I'll do my best to explain it, is that in order to call yourself a Scotch, you have to at least be, in the cask for 3 years, matured for at least three years. Although most of the higher end distilleries are not going to sell anything between the 3 and the 5 year mark. We'll call them juvenile bottles. So the way it works normally through my experience is that when you're dealing with a peaty Scotch or you have another kind of flavored Scotch, the peat is really strong in the very beginning once it's put in the cask, and the alcohol is light. And as time goes by, the peat decreases and the alcohol catches up in the rest of the flavors, and they meet somewhere in the future for this perfect blended smooth taste, which for some whiskeys is 10, 12, or 16 years. Now after that, it starts to possibly go the other way, and depending on your taste buds, that's where you're going to fit in. But for the most part, the distilleries and the common taste and where it really comes alive is between the 10 and 16 year versions. So most of these places don't sell the cheaper types of, I don't want to say cheaper type of Scotch, just say they don't sell any of the juvenile Scotches. So the reason they claim it's a secret is some people believe that they buy these casks up from Laphroaig or Lagavulin, and it changes. So they'll buy thousands and thousands of casks, bottle it like this, and then sell it. So maybe you're drinking 3-year-old Lagavulin. Maybe you're drinking 3-year-old Laphroaig. Who knows? Who knows what the hell you're drinking here? It's just Scotch. So I've never had this. We're going to go ahead and taste this right now, and I'm expecting this to be peaty and probably weak in the alcohol. It's a little darker than some of the Scotches we've had on here. Let's check it for its legs. You can always check the good alcohol content by just kind of flipping it this way and seeing if there's any legs running down. I'm not really seeing it. It says 40 ABVs on it. And it also says the palate is rich and peaty. So let's give it a taste. It smells smoky. I don't know what this is. It's like smoky soda pop. Now, if you remember the last one, we had the Peat Monster. And the Peat Monster was really smoky, but yet lacked that alcohol bite. This is kind of smoky, but it doesn't, like, I'm going to explain it this way. The peat smoke flavor, it's smoky, but it doesn't taste like a cigarette. You know, it doesn't taste like a cigar. It's got a smoky flavor, but it doesn't taste like that. This tastes like an ashtray. It's like an ashtray, and you poured liquor in the ashtray. But it's still drinkable. I don't know. Verdict's still out there. I might have been too harsh. It's not bad. Not bad for $18. No. Maybe you already tasted Finlaggan and you like it. So what's the point in all of this? Is Finlaggan a fraud? No, not really. Not at all. But it is a product that's claiming, because I mean they are selling you a Scotch. You are getting Scotch, and if you're just going to a party or something and you want a libation, this is going to fit the bill. But it's a bottle of Scotch that's proclaiming that it's the best on the island. And you're talking about the creme de la creme. You're talking about the Michael Jordan and Joe Montanas of whiskey is on that island in bottles of Ardbeg. You know, Supernova. You're going to compare this to Supernova? That's just absurd. That's just absurd. But it is Scotch. So the final verdict is it's not really a fraud, but it is kind of a sleight of the hand. They're kind of, you know, leading you to believe by passing through the store that there is a Finlaggan Castle distillery on the Isle of Islay, which does not exist, and it has this rich peaty flavor, which it does not, and it is the greatest whiskey on that island, which can't be anything further from the truth. But yet, it's still whiskey. So think about this as you go through your life. It doesn't matter if it's whiskey. It doesn't matter if it's gurus and furus or people across the world. Generally, when people come out and they make something sound better than it really is, or they try to compare it to something that is iconic and has been iconic for years, you got some problems there because nothing's going to be that good. So anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and talk about the stock market because that's what we're all here for. Again, this has been another solid week of trading. Going to finish up close to about $6,000 in gains if you follow from last week. October was another $20,000, another $20,000 a month, which only leaves us 1 month, which was May, that we didn't cross 20,000 in gains. But this is typically a good time because of earnings season. However, what you are also seeing is a pretty sharp, I wouldn't say sharp, but a really methodical, orderly sell-off as we approach the election. When I had talked about it before, I kind of thought we wouldn't see much action before the election. But now the cards are coming out on the table, the bets are being made, and people are selling. And with just cause, because we're just sitting here ready to elect the lesser of two evils. And I don't know, again, it's not going to be a political rant. I'm not going to talk politics, because whoever you support, and you have your reasons. But I think we all kind of agreed there, for the most part, that these aren't the greatest two people that you could put in positions. And there's a lot of, the way the whole campaigns have gone has been kind of sketchy. The backgrounds of both candidates are extraordinarily sketchy. But you can see as we're going into this, I can remember trading through the last election, both the 2008, 2012 elections. They weren't really taken like this. So now you're starting to see all this selling off. So we're probably not going to, bottom line is we're probably not going to get a lot of volatility coming back into the markets until after the election on Wednesday or Thursday of the following week. Now the good thing is the next time we do one of these happy hours, we'll know who our new POTUS is going to be here in America. And, at least we'll have to deal with whatever that is. So that's one thing, at least this election is going to be over and you can stop seeing it on every channel. But as we look at the market, I would say that, we're going to continue to probably sell off a little bit. You're not going to see, I wouldn't imagine you're going to see any sustained rallies in any of this. There'll be maybe brief spikes in stocks, maybe specific PRs and stuff like that. But I don't think you're going to see any sustained rally until possibly after the election. Depending on who's getting elected, who the market has priced into this as the winner. And it either goes through that way or it does not. That remains to be seen. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the charts real quick. And we'll go from there, give you a couple of ideas, a couple of stocks that I'm looking at. So let's start with the SPY. It looked like Friday was going to be the day. That was going to be the day when there was a relief rally. It was going to end its 9-day losing streak. And almost what we have continued to see every day is everyone late in the day changes their mind. This thing goes from the red, not from the red, God damn it. So let's start out with the SPY. It looked like Friday was going to be that day where the 9-day losing streak was over. It was holding its bounces. It was building all day long. And just like it has the last few days, right towards the last hour, everybody changes their mind, goes from green to red. And this is something we've been talking about in the last few of these videos, is there was the joke about the ramp up. For years you saw almost every day on cue, the last hour, the market would just ramp up. It would be red, it would go green, or it would be green and it would just start ripping late in the day. Now you have this reverse scenario where it's completely changing course. It's like down ramping, just selling off late in the day. And I think maybe going into a weekend, an unknown weekend, with this election coming up, this is the kind of behavior that you're going to get. So we'll see how things, keep saying it, but we're going to see how things play out up to Tuesday. And maybe we're going to need a few days after the election to kind of digest what is happening here. If you're looking for some levels, it looks like right now, at least chart-wise, that the pivot that you have back in July, around the 207s, is the next area of support, down toward about 207 even. So look for this thing to trade down towards 207 early on. Again, it's really hard to tell what we're going to see on Monday and Tuesday, but we'll be prepared for, multi-scenarios. So again, SPY just unable to hold any type of rally. Now, the sector that's really getting hurt here, and has been, is the biotechs. I mean, you've seen stocks like Blue and PBYI just getting murdered. But there is a few that are still going, like this EGRX. This is a bullish chart. Of course, it was bearish. It was being sold off. News comes out. You get a strong move from 54 to 74. So in the last 3 days, there's been a $24 price change in this. Now, it hasn't set up very well for me and what I do to short into that. I'm looking for specific ramp up, speed up moves. And a lot of times those moves come in the very first day of a news event, the very first day of earnings. After that, the stock gets a chance to digest and build a pattern. It becomes a little bit different of a trade for me. I like it just based on the fact that it's gapped about $20 in 3 days. And I think you can make the statement here, if the market continues to sell before the election, that this is a good short opportunity. The market's on your side here. However, for me to do this, it will have to gap up again, or it will have to run up early in the morning, kind of maybe similar to what you see right there on Friday's action, and maybe get to 78, maybe even 80 if we're lucky, and then try to work a short on there. Again, it's got to be not just the price increase, but it has to, the chart itself has to look a certain way. So I kind of like this one. You have earnings on Wednesday, so it's only going to be a trade possibility on Monday and Tuesday. Then we're just going to have to see what happens on Wednesday. But I do like that price increase. Now, something that looks kind of like this, not as much though, is Certo. You see they have to gap up. Now, Certo, CRTO here, gapped up after its earnings. So you got a really strong gap up, held the gap, and now build. I don't see it going to 45 unless we get some mega monster rally after the election. And you just see this, everything just going, which is something you have to kind of prepare for. You have to have a strategy for, regardless of what your thoughts are on who is going to be the next president and whether they deserve it or not, there is an opportunity on both sides of this to make money. So you got to have a strategy for that. So, there's a potential that some of these stocks will see a big rally after we finally know. We got to prepare for that. We also have to prepare for more downside. But getting back to point, Certo, I like this one. Same thing as EGRX, gap ups, rips, ramps, anything in the whole numbers, I would be interested in shorting. And also SGen, which was a really, another strong stock here. It was kind of bucking the trend like an EGRX and finally broke down nice. It got that, and this is what I'm talking about. Got a nice gap up there on Friday. Power tower, dual wicks right there at the top. Then you get a pretty good sell-off. Now, it didn't sell, it went into the red, but there's still room to this. It looks like this stock wants to trade back down into the 52 area. That's what I'm looking at. So any kind of pops, any kind of ramp-ups, any, like a broken record here, I'll be looking to short it. So anyway, I want to thank all of you now for sticking around here for me with happy hour and enjoying some of this magical, delightful, illustrious, amazing, I'm running out of words to say, glass of scrumptious Finlaggan Castle Scotch. I think my liver is going to rot just drinking this. I can feel it. I can feel it like melting right now. But the moral of all of this, and all kidding aside, is no matter what it is in life, man, you're going to have people coming at you at all times. Some people, they're truly genuine in what they have to offer and the product that they're selling, and they mean well, and they want to do well. Then you got people that realize that they can't back up the product they're selling. And in order for them to sell that product effectively, what they have to do is mislead you, mislead the public. And this is where we see in our industry with stock traders is when someone says, when someone cannot trade stocks, then to sell their product and convince people that they can trade stocks, they show pictures of their money. They show pictures of their watches, their sports cars, models, mansions, private planes. They try to make this appearance as if they're ultra wealthy, and maybe some are, but they're probably because they're selling stuff. But the more someone has to sell their product to you, and the more they have to pump up that product, that raises questions. Is that product really good enough? Now, I can only speak from my end. We try to do things from day one differently here at the Lincoln List because I never wanted to just tell someone in hindsight I knew how to trade. Every day, I get up and I trade in front of the trade room. You see all my stuff right there on the computer screen. It's right there. I tell you my entry point, my exit point, the amount of shares that I'm trading, the reason I think this trade's going to work, why I'm going to take this trade. That way, the trader that doesn't understand how this works can see it. They can see it happen in real time. And how else that works is I always said, I believe most of your trades, they never work out like you think they're going to, right? I mean, you want every trade, you just hit it, you're never in the red, you're always in the green, and it works out perfectly, and you either buy at the bottom and sell at the top, or short at the top and cover at the bottom. It never works that way. Market's always changing. And where you really learn from a live trading environment is when this stuff changes, when there is Fed meeting minutes, what does that do to the market? What does earnings do to the market? And you see these things happen in real time and how the trader adapts to that. That's how you make money. I don't even know. You should be insulted from anyone who's trying to peddle you right now on a text chat room. What is this, 2005? You know, that's like you're on Windows 98 or something. I mean, everybody should be able to trade live on screen. If they can't, they're just wimping out on you. They're cutting you short of the education that you deserve. That's just the way I look at it. You know, that's just how I do it. Anyway, enough of this. I want to thank you for listening to me rant here a little bit. And I'm glad we got to share this lovely bottle of Finlaggan Castle whiskey. It's been an experience. So if you need some help, as I always say, visit thelincolnlist.com. Take a free trial to our live trade room to see if you like it or not. It's free if you want to try it. Then you can make the decision for yourself. So next time we speak, we will have a new POTUS. So let's see how that goes. Take care. Have a great week of trading. Till next time, cheers.